Hmm.
So Easter Monday, 24th of April, you had the Irish volunteers, members of Cumann and the Irish Citizen Army. They joined together and they took over buildings all over the city. A lot of the buildings were in the actual city centre, but a lot of outposts were taken around the surrounding city, including Watkins Brewery, which is just behind us here. You had Marlborough Lane Distillery, which was just up the road. You had South Dublin Union. You also had Rose Distillery. This is all the 4th Battalion area. Now this is the garrison or the battalion that Conn Colbert was a member of. Now Conn Colbert, he was from Limerick. He moved up to Dublin when he was quite young. As soon as the volunteer movement was started, he was right in there from the very beginning. The Fíle Air and the Irish Boy Scouts, he was right there at the inception of that organisation. So Conn Colbert, he's in charge of a small garrison, about 20 men, and they take over Watkins Brewery. Their aim for being here was the British forces, in case they were coming from Portobello, making their way into the city centre, they'd be able to block them off here. But they bypass it. They make their way down through Camden Street because that's more direct line. They pass by Jacobs. That's the way they would go. So we realised nothing's really happening here. He's going to move his men and they're going to make their way up to Marlborough Lane Distillery. And then again, South Dublin Union, that's where the fighting really takes place around this area. And then all of a sudden, Saturday, the Easter Rising's over, the men are ordered to surrender. Now, Conn Colbert, he was known to the authorities because he was a member of the Fianna and he was always dressed up and he was sort of in their face. So basically, the man who was actually in command of the garrison, his name, the story goes, was Sean Colbert. But when the police were actually going along and identifying the men, Conn Colbert had said he stepped out. Because unlike the commanding officer, Conn Colbert had no dependents, whereas his commanding officer, he did have a very young family. So Conn Colbert took his place just in case that did happen. Turned out it wasn't really a good move because Conn Colbert, he was court-martialed. He was found guilty at his court-martial and he was executed in Kilmainham Jail on the 8th of May 1916. One of the youngest to be executed. The commanding officer, who he did take the place of, Sean Colbert, he did go on to have a very important career in the War of Independence and later on. So enabled him to go on and continue to fight for Irish freedom.